Coming up next at 10, police making an arrest after this weekend's deadly shooting on the corner. We'll tell you who is in custody.
An old church may be getting solar panels after a lengthy back and forth within city government, but some worry it could compromise its historic look.
And 2 local school divisions making big hires to improve safety as violence in the classroom remains a national concern. It's 10 o'clock. It's time for the Fox Virginia News.
Live from Charlottesville, this is Fox Virginia News with Dan Schutte, Carly Haynes, and Chief Meteorologist Travis Koshko. Now, Fox Virginia News at 10.
Hey, good Monday evening to you, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Dan Schutte.
And I'm Carly Haynes. We'll get to those stories in a moment, but first, here's Travis at the Fastcast.
And now, your CBS 19 Weather Authority forecast from the Bright Star Care Charlottesville Weather Center.
And good evening, friends. I hope your week is off to a good start. A cold start this morning, middle to upper 20s for a lot of central Virginia, and we kept the chill going in the afternoon with highs only in the middle 50s. Right now, most of the area in the 30s, orange at the freezing mark, 33 in Culpeper and Louisa, 37 degrees at the lake. Chose at 44, but downtown Charlottesville, you're at 40 degrees as of last check a few seconds ago. Skies have been clear all day, and they'll be clear into the overnight. That, with cold air and calm winds, that recipe spelling out temperatures falling to the 20s. Once again, 28 in Charlottesville. Outlying areas could be up to 5-10 degrees colder. And then your Tuesday, filled with sunshine, though we'll throw a couple of clouds in late in the afternoon. 64 degrees your high on Tuesday. That will be roughly 10 degrees warmer than today. However, later on this week, very mild weather for the first weekend of spring 2023. It'll feel like spring. I'll tell you what I mean in just a few minutes.
All right, Travis, thank you. New tonight at 10, Charlottesville police announcing the arrest of a suspect in connection to this past weekend's deadly shooting near Elliewood Avenue. Police say they took 21-year-old LaCorey Brooks into custody. Brooks being charged with second-degree murder and the use of a firearm in commission of a felony. The arrest comes after 26-year-old Cody Brian Smith was shot in the parking lot near Elliewood Avenue. Smith later died from those injuries.
Fox Virginia's Gretchen Stinger spoke with owners of businesses near that incident.
Take a look.
It's hitting even closer to home now, our backyard. I never ever thought that we would ever utter the words, there was a murder in our parking lot. And in all our 41 years, never thought I'd be uttering that.
One owner says he's never worried about anything like this before.
We worry about vandalism, signs being stolen, vomit to clean up, maybe a broken window, but the gun firing, the shots, this is something completely new.
People who have been in this area for decades say they never thought this kind of violence would come this close to them. I spoke with someone who has been a property manager on Elliewood Avenue for over 50 years.
And this is really unexpected, for something like this happens to go to show how to change of the street and the community.
One business was even left with a bullet hole in their window.
It didn't penetrate all the way through, I understand, from my understanding. But it shattered the glass, spread it all into the whole apartment. And it didn't come through in my little office right next door. It's getting closer.
And that was Gretchen Stenger reporting. Also new at 10 tonight, an old church downtown may be getting solar panels along with a new roof.
Some are worried it could affect the history of the building. Fox Virginia's Garrett Witten is here with more. Garrett.
Dan and Carly, the first United Methodist Church on East Jefferson Street was built in 1923 and has been cared for by the congregation since. Now they are looking to make improvements to making the building more useful and energy efficient. This time around, they are looking to install solar panels, but they have run into some issues with the city's Board of Architectural Review. Now, the BAR says that the installation would do one of two things, either call for a replacement of the roof to concrete shingles or hurt the brittle and original slated roof, something the BAR says is a character-defining feature of the building. After discussion, they denied the request from the church, but city law allows for the owner to appeal the request to the city council if denied by the board, and that's what happened.
This can be a positive outcome for the church and the city. An affirmative vote by you tonight would begin to move projects like ours, and there will be many more, I'm sure, will move us towards a greater city vision for climate action in Charlottesville. And I hope it will also prompt the city to take up an overdue revision of the BAR guidelines for sustainable energy projects in historic districts.
With a 4-0 vote, Council overturned the BAR's denial. Engineering and planning will begin for installation. Councilmember Michael Payne said although he respects the work of the BAR, he is hearing negative feedback from the community regarding its work and decisions. Now, he also thinks these appeals are a waste of time and will prevent people from wanting these types of solar projects done in the future. In the studio, Garrett Whitten, Fox Virginia News.
Garrett, thank you. Keeping kids safe in today's environment is why Albemarle and Charlottesville schools looking to change some of their safety practices, making some new hires.
Fox Virginia's Felicity Taylor has details on the 2 new roles.
Albemarle County Schools got rid of school resource officers, or SROs, in 2020. Now they say it's time to bring one back. ACPS Representative Helen Dunn says they use the time without SROs to create positions focused on addressing student mental health, which isn't the SRO's job.
We have social emotional coaches in schools. We have school safety coaches now.
She says after creating those new positions and the current atmosphere in the schools after the pandemic, this is the right decision.
This is somebody who can be a little bit more of an official presence and can serve in that role. So we've kind of put these pieces of the puzzle together in a way that hopefully all together works really well on behalf of the students.
ACPS is writing a memorandum of understanding, which is basically a contract with Albemarle County Police, and then we'll start the hiring process for an active officer from ACPD. Now in the city, a retired Charlottesville police officer starting a new role. Regine Wright is the coordinator of school safety and security for Charlottesville schools. She says she missed being involved in the community and plans to be in the schools daily.
Strong sense of security for the students as well as the teachers, put the teachers and the principals in a position where they can focus more on their jobs dealing with the kids and leave the security things to me.
Chief Operations Officer for Charlottesville Schools, Kim Powell, says Wright will oversee their school safety officers, called Care and Safety Assistants, along with physical safety systems.
When we say safety is our top priority, we have to have a position that's devoted to that priority at the division leadership level.
And that was Felicity Taylor reporting. Well, there is a new challenger for the Whitehall District seat on the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. Newcomer Brad Rickel has announced he'll be running as an independent. Now, you'll remember last month, Democrat Ann Malik announced that she's running a re-election campaign for the seat that she currently holds. Rickel is a local podcaster, author, father, and veteran from Crozet. He says that his goal is to improve and build out local infrastructure. He says that now's the right time for him to step into the world of politics.
The next term is going to have long-term consequences, and so to take it with seriousness. So I think it's value added to have a young family in this whole process because the decisions that are made affect us every single day.
Now, he says he plans to have what he calls listening tours to speak with concerned residents. Tomorrow, Fox Virginia will talk to Malik to see what she has to say about her competitor and if this changes the way she'll run her re-election campaign.
This afternoon, the Miller Center of Public Affairs at UVA inviting the public to a conversation between the center's CEO and an attorney who played a big role in the January 6th investigation. Former U.S. Attorney Tim Heaphy served as chief investigative counsel for the select committee investigating the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. The discussion featuring conversations about what went into the investigation and the attack's lasting effect on the country. Heaphy says those who care about democracy must see the difference between two views of the government.
It's belief in the system versus lack of faith in the system. And until we collectively find a way to reach out to those people that don't believe, to show them that government works for them, that higher ed has value, that science is real, then we're going to keep having this problem. And that's the fundamental underlying issue with which those of us who care about democracy really need to wrestle.
Heaphy also served as the university counsel at UVA. He earned a bachelor and a JD there. He also wrote a report on the city's handling of the events surrounding the Unite the Right rally and was a local federal prosecutor. Well, a looming indictment possible for former President Donald Trump. A Manhattan grand jury hearing final testimony from witnesses today.
The case surrounds alleged hush money payments Trump made during his 2016 presidential campaign. Details after weather with Travis.
High pressure will result in sunshine for tomorrow. Clouds thicken for the second part of the week, and eventually we get some rain. Rain will come down, temperatures go up. We'll talk about all that after this.
And now, your CBS 19 Weather Authority forecast from the Bright Star Care Charlottesville Weather Center.
And time for the Weather Authority forecast on the Fox Virginia News at 10 o'clock. Great to have your company on this Monday evening. Let's review the day, shall we? Cho's got the view on the JES Skyline Network cam. You can probably count the number of clouds moving by. In fact, there are probably more planes than clouds in this time lapse today. Crystal clear thanks to high pressure, but it was chilly. Temperatures this morning, mid to upper 20s. Highs this afternoon, only in the mid 50s. Now we'll shift the winds a little bit tomorrow afternoon. That will warm us up. And eventually we're going to bring some clouds into the sky. But for now, we're still clear, and we're going to be clear overnight. That clear sky combined with calm winds and cold air, that'll mean temperatures back in the middle to upper 20s overnight, just like what we had this morning. 44 degrees right now outside our Elliewood studio. We're the same at Cho, 43 atop Carter Mountain, and 40 degrees in downtown Charlottesville. Big gap between temperature and dew point. The air is very dry. I mentioned the winds being calm. There you go. Mother Nature not making a liar out of me this time. Stanton at 31, Winchester 34, 9 degrees warmer, 43 in our nation's capital with 36 degrees in Richmond. So high pressure also doing a good job of keeping this storm off the Carolina coast. Storm wants to come north, but high pressure says, no, you're just going to continue on your merry way to the north and east. So that high moves out of the way. These clouds, they'll get here eventually, but not until later tomorrow afternoon. So if you're up before sunrise tomorrow, you've got temperatures in the mid to upper 20s. It's going to be a chilly start by noontime. We're at 56 degrees in Charlottesville. We'll see some clouds mixing in later in the afternoon. 63 at 4 p.m., but I think it's going to be the type of clouds, those high-level cirrus ones, those wispy ones that make for a decent sunset. So be on the watch for that tomorrow evening. Your highs around the area tomorrow, 64 in Charlottesville, 63 in Livingston, 65 the high for Arvonia. These temperatures a little more seasonable. Standardsville, Culpeper 63, Wilderness and Lake of the Woods at 64, 65 in Kent Store, Lake Anna and Zion Crossroads. The booming metropolis of Bremo Bluff and New Canton, you will also be at 65. But yeah, get used to this. Pollen counts, high levels tomorrow for the tree pollens, low levels though continuing for the grass pollens and mold spores. Excuse me. So skies on Futurecast not really becoming cloudy till later in the afternoon. This will be a weak system moving through on Wednesday. It might give us a lone shower or two. Most of it's going to be dry, lots of clouds. We'll reel temperatures back a little bit in the afternoon. And then on Thursday, while there are some hints of some showers to our north, I think these are going to be north of the Mason-Dixon line. I don't think these are going to be close to us to Thursday. That should be a dry day. It's Friday afternoon when rain makes a grand appearance in the Cardinal Home Center extended forecast. But look at those temperatures. Thursday, 78 degrees, your high. The same on Friday. We get some rain Friday afternoon. Another wave of rain Saturday afternoon. Not a washout of a weekend because we'll salvage a dry Sunday. We'll bring those temperatures back a bit for early next week, but still mid to upper 60s. We can handle that next Monday morning, Dan, Carly. Maybe a little more rain.
So the only day on the 7th day that doesn't feel like spring is the first day of spring.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, got it. Makes sense.
Fitting.
Thanks, Travis. Well, the decision on whether or not to indict former President Donald Trump lies in the hands of a Manhattan grand jury,
who today heard testimony from a Trump ally who questioned the credibility of prosecutor's star witness. Fox News correspondent Alexis McAdams has the latest.
Police in New York City bracing for what's expected to be the first criminal case ever filed against a U.S. president. The grand jury heard testimony from Robert Costello on Monday. He's a former legal advisor for Trump's former personal lawyer and fixer, Michael Cohen. Cohen is the star witness of the Manhattan DA's investigation into Trump and claims he made hush money payments on Trump's behalf during the 2016 election to keep two women quiet about alleged affairs. As Cohen faced legal trouble in the aftermath, officials say he met with Costello, who claimed Cohen was looking to cut a deal.
And he'd say, I want you guys to know, I will do whatever the F it takes. I will never spend one day in jail. He must have said that close to 20 times. This was his mantra all day long.
Cohen did end up going to prison after pleading guilty in 2018 to campaign finance violations and lying to Congress. Costello says Cohen told him he took out a loan to make the payments and that he acted alone.
Michael Cohen decided on his own, that's what he told us, on his own, to see if he could take care of this.
The district attorney has the documentation in order to validate every single statement that I've made.
Costello repeatedly casting doubt on Cohen's credibility, attributing Cohen's cooperation with prosecutors to a personal vendetta against the former president.
Lie, cheat, steal, shoot somebody, whatever it takes, I'm not going to jail. Well, he went to jail, and now he's on the revenge tour.
Trump has denied any wrongdoing here. His attorneys say he does intend to cooperate if he's charged. In New York, I'm Alexis McAdams, Fox News.
Well, a massive fire breaking out inside a church in New Jersey. The multiple alarm fire erupted inside the Fountain of Life Center in Florence today. Numerous fire crews were on scene fighting the flames. There's no word on any injuries or what caused the fire. A full investigation into that fire is expected.
Hello, I'm Brian Strickland from Wilkinson Wealth Management, and here are your stocks of local interest for today.
You're watching Fox Virginia News at 10. Thanks to you, the #1 rated 10 p.m. newscast in Central Virginia.
It is the bottom of the hour. I'm Dan Schutte.
And I'm Carly Haynes. You're watching Virginia's Own News at 10. Time to check in with Chief Meteorologist Travis Koshko.
And now, your CBS 19 Weather Authority forecast from the Bright Star Care Charlottesville Weather Center.
Thank you, Carly and Dan. Good evening once again. Your temperatures today, not really close to seasonal normals. And now that we're pushing those numbers into the lower 60s, 55 is where we ended up at the airport in Charlottesville. And we've been continuing this stretch of unseasonably cool weather. It takes us back to the later part of last week. Record high to the date, 90 degrees set back in 1921. I do believe that is safe. The record low of 16, though. Not exactly talking teens overnight, but still mid to upper 20s for a good chunk of the area. Yeah, welcome to spring, friends. It officially started a little after 5 o'clock this evening. Skies are clear, no rain, no snow, no ice, no problems, and we're going to stay clear during the overnight, and that will aid in the chilly start to your Tuesday. Two more things to show you. This is the first one with sunshine for your Tuesday. 56 degrees midday, 63 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Your forecast trends overall are up. You notice later this week and even into the weekend, we've got some showers in the forecast. Yeah, they're worth being happy about because we are rather dry around the area. We'll show you some rainfall numbers coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Travis, thank you. If you took part in St. Patrick's Day celebrations, you were probably seeing a lot of green this weekend.
But some partiers in California were busy seeing a bizarre sight in the heavens above. Jeremy Roth has today's. Take a look at this.
As most lads and lasses were soaking up St. Patty's Day suds, some were spotting surreal space streaks in the sky.
What is that?
Video captured at a brewery in California shows bizarre bright lights streaming across the skies over Sacramento. Jaime Hernandez was celebrating the annual Irish holiday when he says the strange show unfolded overhead for about 40 seconds. The video was posted online, and it didn't take long for social media to do what it does best, throwing around every preposterous possibility from the Avengers to Santa Claus. But one Twitter user, an astrophysicist and astronomer, portends the surreal show was likely space junk, flaming debris from a 2009 communications package sent to the ISS, and now burning up on re-entry. Okay, so probably not Transformers then? Got it. Speaking of surreal, take a look at a newly discovered species of orchid that looks like it could be spun from glass. The species has been identified in parks and gardens around Tokyo and features seemingly crystallic pink and white blooms that are extremely fragile. Scientists say it's an important reminder that unknown species are often living right under our noses. Finally, if you're a big nature fan, don't stop to smell the flowers. Hurry up and apply for a job being described as professional bear hugger. To be fair, the job posted by the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish is actually that of a conservation officer, and interactions with bears is only one of the duties. Ideal candidates will enjoy long hikes, be willing to crawl into bear dens, and are looking for what the agency calls the experience of a lifetime. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
Not a bad gig if you can get it.
Not at all.
With Chinese President Xi Jinping pushing for peace during a visit to Moscow.
This as the Russian offensive in Ukraine showing signs of letting up. It's coming up.
Across the world now, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol intercepting 6 giant African snails at Detroit Metropolitan Airport. The snails were alive inside the suitcase of a person traveling from Ghana. Customs and Border Protection says the snails are considered an invasive species in the U.S. They carry a parasitic worm that can lead to meningitis in humans. The snails can also damage in other ways with their appetite for 500 different plants. Oh yeah, plus they eat plaster and stucco.
Wow. Not a fan of that. Well, countries from around the world are expressing their approval of a major new report on climate change that was compiled by the United Nations. During the approval process, wealthy and developing countries were at odds over emissions targets and financial aid to vulnerable countries. Nations including China, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, and the United States had argued over key words in the text. The infighting held up the finalization of the report on which hundreds of the world's top scientists had worked.
War taking a backseat to diplomacy this week as the president of China traveling to Moscow for meetings with his Russian counterpart, which could have a big impact on fighting in Ukraine.
Mike Tobin has more from Kyiv.
A high-stakes game of diplomacy is playing out in Moscow. Chinese President Xi Jinping starting a 3-day visit as the Russian offensive in Ukraine shows signs of slowing down. Vladimir Putin meeting with Xi for dinner on Monday, hoping Beijing will agree to provide weapons so he can continue the war. But so far, Xi appears to be more interested in playing the role of peacemaker, pushing a 12-point plan to end the fighting, which Putin says he supports.
We will have the opportunity to discuss this issue. We know that you're guided by observing the principles of justice and respect for the basics of international law.
Xi is scheduled to speak to Ukrainian President Zelensky after his visit to Moscow. But so far, officials here say China's 12-point plan is a non-starter because most of the actual points are really concessions to Moscow that would allow Putin to hold on to Ukrainian territory.
He's proposing to stop all the sanctions now and immediately go to a ceasefire, which certainly enshrines Russia's conquest of the additional space in Ukraine.
Xi's visit comes as Ukrainian forces outside Bakhmut are managing to keep Russian units at bay despite almost non-stop attacks. And more help could be coming soon. The U.S. announcing another round of military aid valued at $350 million.
We hope the President Xi will press President Putin to cease bombing Ukrainian cities, hospitals, and schools, to halt the war crimes and atrocities, and to withdraw all his troops.
A top Ukrainian official tweeted Monday that his country is open to peace talks, but only after all Russian troops have left Ukraine. In Kyiv, Mike Tobin, Fox News.
Well, it is the deadliest season of bird flu ever recorded in the United States.
The risk to humans is low, but the newest strain of the virus is still causing concern. How you can avoid infection. That's after weather with Travis.
Temperatures more seasonable tomorrow and Wednesday. Very warm for Thursday and Friday. We'll break down the numbers, and we'll also talk about the rain we have in the forecast and how much that could amount to in just a few minutes.
And now, your CBS 19 Weather Authority forecast from the Bright Star Care Charlottesville Weather Center.
Another look at radar, which is kind of not really worth it because there's nothing to talk about. In fact, even at that point, we are in the clear, as I mentioned a few minutes ago. Clear, calm, cold. Your temperatures overnight settling in the mid to upper 20s for most of the area. We did not have any rain today at show. Monthly total, and this is where numbers start to pique my curiosity and interest. We've only had a little more than a ½ inch of rain this month, and here we are the 20th day of March, and our deficit for the year nearing 3¼ inches below normal. Now, last week's state drought monitor has us fine for now, but if we continue this current trend, that's not going to last. All right. Out the door forecast for tomorrow brought to you by Solutions Mechanical and Plumbing. Mostly sunny, save a couple of late afternoon cirrus clouds. 56 degrees at noontime in Charlottesville, 63 degrees at 4 p.m. It'll be about 10 degrees warmer than today. In fact, Traveling about the mid-Atlantic, lower to middle 60s from Norfolk to Richmond, 62, a high for both D.C. and Roanoke, with both places partly cloudy. Your temperatures, let's just say, they spike come Thursday and Friday. 78 the forecast high for both days. We bring it down just a little bit going into the weekend. And speaking of coming down, rain. Haven't talked much about that, but we should, at least in the forecast. Nothing for the short term with 2 areas of high pressure in control. Maybe a lone sprinkle Wednesday afternoon. That's not going to amount to much. But these fronts that you see dragging across the Central Plains are what will materialize into more potent systems. The next batch of measurable rain, I think, will happen Friday afternoon. Second wave will come Saturday afternoon, and then more rain possible on Monday morning. So we start to see the spikes and the confidence go up once we get later in the forecast. So how much potential is there? Don't get excited, because the next 7 days we've got the potential for, in most places, only about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch of rain, but there's the off chance, Carly, some places could see over 1 inch, and of course it's going to end up being wetter than we currently see.
All right, Travis, thank you. Well, a survey shows almost half of Americans don't take measures to improve the air quality in their homes. Survey conducted by Blue Air, a home purification company, says despite the health concerns that come with poor indoor air quality, 45% of Americans say they have not taken steps to address it. Now, 81% of respondents say they suffer from negative symptoms in their homes, with allergies and nasal congestion among the top offenders. And about 20% say they haven't changed air filters in the last 6 months. A shortage of mental health professionals making it difficult for struggling Americans to get help. The Department of Health and Human Services estimates that the U.S. could be short an estimated 10,000 mental health professionals by 2025. The lack of mental health workers affecting every state and taking a toll on children especially. Nearly 1 in 5 kids have mental health issues, but only 20% receive care. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has announced about $25 million in funding for expanding primary health care that includes mental health services in schools.
It has been a record season for bird flu. Experts say we're seeing the deadliest outbreak of the illness among birds on record. While it's not currently considered a serious threat to humans, the latest strain is causing some concern. Mandy Gaither explains why and has a look at the latest numbers.
The risk to humans remains low, but the latest outbreak of bird flu has killed a record number of poultry,
which is raising the red flag or causing some alarm among researchers, public health, and clinical investigators about the possibility of seeing more cases in humans.
There have been more than 6,300 known cases of bird flu in all 50 states, according to the CDC, but there are probably many more unknown. In 47 states, there have been multiple outbreaks among poultry involving more than 58.5 million birds. The U.S. Department of Agriculture says it's also shown up in some non-commercial backyard flocks as well.
As the virus infects more birds, it may mutate.
Matthew Binnicker, director of clinical virology at Mayo Clinic, says another concern about this strain is that it appears to not only infect birds, but also some mammals in the U.S.,
including seals, mink, fox, bears, being identified to be infected with the strain.
Binnicker says the virus spreads only through direct contact with an infected animal. To prevent exposure, stay away from dead birds.
If you see a bird that has died on your grounds and your property, don't go up and handle the bird, because what we're seeing is that in the few cases of avian influenza among humans, that has been the route.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Well, 90's a little up there to be a new dad, wouldn't you say? I would say. Don't tell that to Mr. Pickles. These are his kids. Mr. Pickles is a radiated tortoise who lives at the Houston Zoo. He's the oldest animal at the zoo. He and his mate, the aptly named Mrs. Pickles, have been together since her arrival to the zoo in 1996.
Imagine being a wise turtle and being called Mr. Pickles. So these cuddly baby reptiles are dill, gherkin, and jalapeno, even though 90 may not be so old for a tortoise. Surprised the zoo when Mrs. Pickles laid eggs.
No Gedney? No Vlasic?
Yeah.
You know, Pickles.
No
pickle
cucumbers?
Yeah. Cucumbers, that'd be the granddad, right?
Yeah, that's
Mr.
started
Pickles'
it all.
dad. Yeah, Mr. Pickles' dad is Cucumber. Mr. Cucumber.
A big deal, no doubt about that. All right, extended forecast. You got mid-60s tomorrow, a little cooler, cloudier on Wednesday. Most will be dry. Upper 70s for Thursday, Friday. Chances for rain Friday afternoon, Saturday afternoon, next Monday morning. And your temperatures be on that point. Look to be on the warmer side of normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
All I could find was Matt's Dirty Pickles from Virginia. Couldn't find a Virginia pickle company very fast. Sorry about that. Have a great night, everybody.